All right, I usually don't stream on Wednesday, um, but I was very surprised by a video I saw this morning, and I just felt so compelled to talk about it. Now, I've been keeping out of the stuff with Jimmy and some of these other, progressive people because I actually wanted to do this edited video about the thing with him and Anna, where she accused him of talking about how attractive her legs were over and over again. Uh, Several years after he left the company that they worked together on. Um, so this morning, Kyle Kulinski, who runs Secular Talk, which is a channel I've talked about favorably in the past, and I still will speak favorably of the channel. In general, decided to release, I'd say, a pretty lengthy video. I mean, 30 minutes is not. I don't call it really long, but for his standard, because most of his stuff is like 8, 9 minutes. Um, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the video and give my commentary. I watched it one time before this in totality, and just kind of explain why some of the things that are said are either, I don't want to say incorrect, but I don't agree with them. Just certain things that were in the video. So now we have the full context of what I what this saga has been for the last, I guess, 6 months, ever since the force to vote thing happened, where they were trying to get AOC and the rest of the squad to pressure Pelosi to bring Medicare for All up for a vote, so that even though it wouldn't pass, you would see who voted for it and who wouldn't, and then you could work to remove the people who voted against it. Uh, this has pretty much been brewing since January. So let me play the video.
So this segment is being recorded pretty late at night. I actually didn't have the time to prep a normal show for you all. I was gonna prep a normal show for you all, but then a giant wrench got thrown into those plans because there was a little bit of Twitter drama that unfolded. There were some passive aggressive shots that were taken at me. I didn't take kindly to that. And so now I feel like my hand is being forced and I have to weigh in on an issue that I don't want to weigh in on. So I'm a little cranky. I'm a little tired. I don't really want to be doing this segment, but now I feel like I have to do this segment. Because of the timing of all this, it has fucked up the potential for a normal show tomorrow, which is a shame because I'm going to have to hop in my car and go to DC, and I don't have enough time to prep and do a show and get all that stuff taken care of. But anyway, enough on the backstory and the current situation. Let's dive into it. So obviously I'm going to talk here about the drama between Jimmy Dore and Aaron Mate versus the Young Turks. So I just want to reiterate, I don't want to do this segment. I don't want to talk about it. I've bent over backwards to stay out of this fight. Now, some of you might not like that. I don't care. I don't care. I'll never hide a single thing from any of you when it comes to policy. But when it comes to personal shit, I don't want to get involved in it, and I want to stay out of it. And that's always how I've been. That's always how I will be. I'm an introvert. I hate drama. This is some fucking drama shit, and I want nothing to do with it. So, the reasons why I want nothing to do with this, number one, it's obvious. Jimmy, Jenk, and Anna are all personal friends of mine. So it puts me in a really weird place. Now you can pretend.
I was going to talk about how I think there's actually a really strong case you can make that maybe people who talk about, I guess, politics shouldn't be friends, because they can turn on each other very quickly. In the edited video I had planned that was going to discuss the allegations that Anna made toward Jimmy, I was going to show how 2 years ago, when Jimmy left TYT, he spoke favorably about them, and Jenk in particular spoke very favorably about him as well, saying that he loved the man. So it's crazy that in the span of 2 years, you go from saying you love someone and thanking them for their contributions to your channel to now saying, unfortunately, he used to work here. So I just want to point it out, because there's a really good case you could make that maybe by the nature of all these different positions and opinions people have on this topic, they shouldn't have friends relating to this. I'm not saying people shouldn't, but this is just an idea that I think is worth having a conversation about at some separate time.
And like, that's not a good reason, but you all know it's a good reason, and you all know if you were in my shoes, you'd feel the exact same way. But the second reason is probably the more important reason, which is it's ugly and it's personal, which is all the more reason for me to stay out of this. And by the way, I should also add, I'm speaking on behalf of Crystal as well here, because she also has desperately wanted to try to stay out of this. But clearly I can't. She's somehow managed to still not have to really dive into it, at least as much as I'm about to right now. All right, so we're going to break this down. Everybody understand, and please, for the love of God, listen to every word that I'm going to say here. Don't listen to parts of it and then get triggered and then shut it off and fucking freak out or whatever. He's not on my team. He fucking tweeted him. I'm not going to read your shit. Everybody calm the fuck down. There are two separate conversations we're going to have here. There are policy conversations and there's personal conversations. Two separate ones. It's not all the same. It's not all the same. There's policy stuff and there's personal stuff. Saying that up front. So I'm only weighing in here because I've been dragged in.
Let me respond to what Brandon wrote. It depends on who you associate with. I know a lot of people with views I don't agree with, but we're cool with each other. Well, I understand that I've given examples of where me and my best friend, for example, disagree on several things. But the reason I mention that is because all of these people run shows concurrently with each other. And whenever one of them criticizes another one, a lot of times it turns into these like long-term conflicts. Like this thing with Dore and TYT has been going on for 6 months, but before that, everybody said they were friends with him. So it wasn't until he criticized their views that they started to attack him personally. Oh, you hate women. Oh, you wanted to call this person's legs attractive. Ugh.
I have to give you my take now on every little aspect of this. And so that's what we have to do. Let's bring the timeline back. It wasn't always like this between Jimmy and TYT. You don't believe me? Take a look.
Lo and behold, the Young Turks opened up their door to me, and I walked in. And we've been working together ever since. And I remember Steve-O was there, and I met Anna that first time, and JR. And it was, I was so, it was such a fun place to be. And so I was real thrilled and flattered that they invited me to be part of their group. And one of the funnest times of my life was the Bernie Sanders campaign. And so I just want to thank Cenk Uygur and everybody at TYT for including me. I've been blessed with good people in my career. And, it was a real stroke of luck that I was able to work with the Young Turks and Cenk Uygur. So good luck to them going forward. And again, I hope we can come together and work on something in the future.
All right, so Jimmy Dore has exited the building, and I think that a lot of you probably have seen his video talking about that. And he used to host Progressive, this show, along with the Jimmy Dore show. And so first thing I'd like to say is I love Jimmy Dore. And I always have, and I hope that I always will. And so it's certainly not anything personal at all. And we had wonderful, wonderful moments on the air with Jimmy throughout a great number of years here at the Young Turks.
That is what I'd call a love fest.
So that's the clip I actually referenced earlier in the stream. Imagine saying 2 years ago that you love someone and thanking them for helping your network, to now saying, unfortunately, this person used to work here. And hell, you can even throw in the fact that last year, Cenk went on Dore's show to promote his unsuccessful congressional bid.
This is what I'd call people who have deep admiration and respect for each other. That wasn't that long ago. That wasn't that long ago.
2 years, just complete.
So since then, I don't want to paint an overly rosy picture. Of course, there have been disagreements. There have been deep disagreements about Syria and Russia and force the vote and other things. But at that time, we were sort of at the peak of Russiagate, and I know, because I know all these people personally, that the Russiagate thing bothered Jimmy just as much off air as it did on air. He felt like it sort of ruined friendships, and he couldn't believe that there were people who were falling for that bullshit. And so the more TYT would cover it, the more angry he would get. And then what would happen is Jimmy would go on air and do his show, and he would never like directly or overtly call out the Young Turks at that time, but there would be like little pot shots here and there about how, other lefty shows are not, telling you the truth about this Russiagate thing. And so that went on for a long time. I think at some point, eventually, somebody at TYT caught wind of the fact that Jimmy was taking shots at them. And, that led Anna to go on Twitter and basically say something along the lines of, I think Jimmy's a grifter, and I don't think he's an honest actor.
We had a conversation about this word on Monday when I did the video about the woman that tried to control me and failed miserably. So in the left-wing corner of YouTube, there's this idea that whenever someone you don't like talks about politics, or a person you don't agree with on politics discusses things, and they have an audience that is willing to financially compensate them for their content, they're a grifter. They somehow are always, if they have a view that's opposing yours, they always only have this view as to satisfy a monetary need. So I'm just saying that word for the last year, it's just been getting thrown around like candy. If I had a nickel for every time that word was used to describe one of these different liberal hosts on YouTube, be able to buy a yacht.
I don't agree with Anna on that. She said that it was fucked up. But as soon as I read that tweet, I said, uh-oh, here we go. This shit is about to get nuclear, because Jimmy Dore has one gear, and that gear is nuclear. And I was exactly right. So Jimmy sort of went nuclear a little bit there. Now, it didn't really get like irreparable until Force the Vote. That's when it became irreparable. Now, to this point, on the substance, I'm with Jimmy so far. So when it comes to Syria, when it comes to Russia, when it comes to Russiagate, when it comes to Force the Vote, none of this is a secret. You guys have seen all my fucking segments. You know where I fall on those policy issues. It's the most obvious thing in the world. But now we get to this new round where the war has ramped up, and it really is a war now. So this recent round all started with this video from the Young Turks talking about Aaron Mate in their postgame.
They said Aaron Mate yelled at me. And so
Aaron Mate lied. Aaron Mate. Everyone cares what Aaron Mate has to say, right? Okay. The guy who denies that Syrian children were killed with chemical attacks. Yeah.
And
fuck
gets
Aaron
paid
Mate.
by the,
yeah, fuck you. Anyway, let's move on. Let's end the freaking pod. I can't.
Okay, see, that's what happened.
I can't stand that guy, and I can't stand the very intentional disinformation they put out there in regard to disgusting dictators around the world. The very people they seem to be working for, to be quite honest with you. Let's move on.
All right, we're done.
So the other tactic a lot of left-wing people on YouTube like to do, actually, I take that back. So this is how it works. If you are critical of a mainstream talking point, right? So, like, if your position on Syria is different than the mainstream position on it, which is, stuff that smears Assad, you're told that you are an asset of the Syrian government. If you say that Russiagate was a bunch of, nonsense that had no proof to verify it, this idea that Russia somehow interfered and changed the results of the 2016 presidential election, you were told that you were paid by Putin or that you were part of the Kremlin or something, just these insinuations that when people have a position that is different from a certain one, it cannot actually be a position they've come to of their own free will. They were fed or monetarily compensated to have this position. So the reason this caught a lot of people by surprise is because this is something that's usually done by cable networks to describe certain journalists or other public figures who don't share those wanted positions. Whereas again, on progressive YouTube, they just call you a grifter if you disagree with them on anything. So if this was like part of the idea that I even have one of my subs that says TYT is MSNBC after hours. They literally sounded like an MSNBC segment. Well, this person is probably being paid by the Russians. You have any proof? Nope.
Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
So let's state the obvious. That was gross. That was a smear. It's so absurd that the first time I watched it, I literally laughed out loud. I laughed out loud. Cenk was just mad that Aaron responded to one of his tweets on Israel and Palestine where Cenk said something about sky gods, and Aaron dunked on him. But everybody dunked on Cenk for that tweet. Hassan Piker, his nephew, dunked on him for that tweet. Cenk took it personally that Aaron went after him on that tweet, and so I think that's what led to this segment or this portion of the post game. But yeah, there's no excuse for this. This is ridiculous. Of course, Aaron Mate is not paid by dictators or paid by the Russians. He's a great journalist who's done a lot of great work. So what do I think of that? Of course, I think of that the exact same thing that all of you fucking knew I thought of it, which is that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. And also, let me say, I get McCarthy smeared all the time. Anybody who took the position that I took on Russiagate gets McCarthy smeared all the time. I literally debated Cenk on the issue of Russiagate. One of the many reasons I stopped reading my Twitter mentions is because I would get McCarthy smeared. So listen, Aaron is upset that Crystal Ball and I haven't commented on this until now. And listen, again, for the record, he's a victim in this. He didn't do anything wrong. He's minding his business. He's a lovely dude. And then he gets this from TYT. It's super fucked up. In my defense and in Crystal's defense, the reason why we didn't say anything about this is because we thought it's fucking obvious. Of course, of course they look ridiculous in this. And I don't think they're convincing many people, bringing many people to their side with stuff like that. Right? Wouldn't you agree?
So this is one of the main things that stuck out to me about this video. His defense for not critiquing TYT over smearing a journalist who, again, disagrees with them. So you can't just disagree with someone. It always has to be, as a result of some financial compensation. The excuse that he gave was that we knew what his opinion was because we all watch him so much and can formulate this idea. And it's when someone is a public figure, there's an expectation, depending on what they talk about, what they're known for them to say something about a specific topic. So, for example, imagine if just Bernie, for example, right? There's some new thing with Israel being, the Israeli government doing something to Palestinians. A lot of left-wing people would expect Sanders to say something in defense of the Palestinians, as he has done in the past. Sanders could not then go and say, well, I didn't say anything because I knew that you guys knew I would say this. It's like, no, you even if we can infer that this would have been the position you would have based off some videos, you still chose to not say anything about it. And I really don't like this because it then puts the burden on the audience to speculate correctly on what this person is going to say when, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be psychic. So that was the issue I had with that. Just the idea that we're supposed to know what you're going to say without just saying it. Have I ever seen OK before? I don't think so. So hello.
Agree. And then also, listen, when I got into my, scandal about my old tweets when Mike Cernovich dug them up and wrote an article calling me a sexist and a racist and all the negative things in the book, nobody defended me. And listen, I'm totally fine with that. I never held a grudge over it. I never thought how dare, all my friends in lefty circles not come out of the woodworks and, put their neck on the line for me. I just thought, listen, this is par for the course. I don't expect everybody to come. I'm not entitled to other people going out there and responding for me. I just thought, hey, it is what it is. This isn't high school. We don't have cliques. people could think whatever they want to think, and I'll handle it on my own. And it was the exact same thing with Crystal when it came to that article that Nathan J. Robinson wrote not that long ago, where he basically argued that she's emboldening Nazism because she does a show with Sagar, who's populist right, and populist right is like what the Nazis were. So therefore, you're being like too soft on the right and too soft on Tucker Carlson, and you're basically like emboldening Nazis and stuff. It was a silly article. I don't think Nathan's arguments were very good, but Crystal fucking hated that shit. She read it and she's like, fuck this shit. And nobody defended her. So, I don't think she cares. She was upset by the article, but she's not mad at other lefties for not like immediately coming out there and responding, because it is what it is. It's not that big a deal. We all go through this shit online. People always say shit about us, and we could all have our positions on it, but it's not like, we're the Justice League rushing to everybody's defense at every moment. I watch this stuff unfold like everybody else watches it unfold, and sometimes I just look at it and I'm like, well, that's dumb, and I move along, and I don't, do a whole monologue or whatever over it. So anyway, listen, I'm not trying to make an excuse. What happened to Aaron was wrong. But I think that's so obvious that I'm like, really? You need me to say it? Like, you don't know what my position already is on Russiagate? You don't know what the things I've said on Russia? You don't know the things I've said on Syria? Like, I'm fucking 100% in alignment with Aaron on all those things. Would I agree with him on all that and then turn around and be like, I think TYT's right and he's paid by fucking Russian dictators? I mean, honestly, it's absurd.
So again, my issue is not that I was worried he would agree with TYT on their smear, but the fact that you agree with this person and your defense of just not saying anything as they're getting smeared by your friends, your self-proclaimed friends, is to just not say a word. That's the point. That, oh, don't worry, I cannot say anything and it's all right because you can figure out what I would say about it. You can headcanon what my response will be based off of what you've seen before.
So after that happened, Jimmy and Aaron responded. Oh, makes perfect sense. They responded a number of times. Makes perfect sense. Aaron has gone on a number of outlets to respond. He wants to sort of clear his name. I don't blame him for that at all. The Young Turks then doubled down and brought on some idiot who parroted the State Department line on Syria. It was really sad to watch. It was like, what are you doing? Don't double down on this. You're so wrong. You're not even close to right. It was just sad to watch. But then there was another escalation. And the escalation came when this happened.
And I'll tell you this story. The story about that was followed by an apology card you wrote me for degrading harassment. Anna Kasparian used to...
Okay, let me give context to this. So on Twitter, after Jimmy had started criticizing TYT regularly for their content, the views they espoused, Anna sent him what he calls blackmail, what I call like this weird warning, where she writes, "I'm sure you remember when you constantly made inappropriate comments about how sexy you found me at work, and even felt the need to ask me where I shop for my jeans so you can buy a pair for your wife so she dresses better. That was followed by an apology card you wrote me for the degrading harassment. I've been holding back, letting you run your mouth nonstop, as if you're some warrior for what's good in the world. That's going to change." So he took it as a threat. And, that I don't know what else you would call that. You criticize these people over the things they say, and then the response to that criticism of what they say is to now levy an allegation in your DM that insinuates that if you continue to speak about these people's positions, they're going to now reveal all of this awful torture that you put them through by talking about how attractive somebody was. Let's hear what Dore had to say about this.
Dress, when I worked there, unbelievably inappropriately for a newsroom. She looked like she was going to a rave. The skirt, one time she came into the newsroom with a skirt so short. It wasn't a pencil skirt. It was like a fluffy one too, but so short that she bent over in front of me and I literally saw her ass and her thong. She's wearing a thong. I literally saw it. And like, everybody saw it. And I go, "Hey, Anna, nice news skirt." And everybody laughed. Like they laughed louder than I thought they would. And so it humiliated her. She got humiliated in the middle of the newsroom, and I did it. And I felt bad. At that time, we were friendly, and I was just busting her balls, right, for dressing like that in the newsroom. You're gonna bend over and show me your ass? I think that's a little. I'm not offended, but I think that's a little risque. Imagine if I did that. If I walked around showing my ass to everybody. So when I did that, so she got really mad. She got humiliated. Her face turned red. She tried to insult me back, and it just fell flat. And she looked, bad. And I felt bad for her. I didn't fight. I didn't want to make her feel that, but I just wanted to make a little joke. And all I said was, "Hey, Anna, nice news skirt," and everybody in the newsroom, because everybody saw how inappropriate she dresses. She used to dress. And everybody saw it. And so that's why it got such a huge laugh, and she was so humiliated. So I felt bad for her. So the next day I wrote her a card saying, "Hey, I'm sorry. I won't do that again. That was inappropriate. You don't have to worry about that happening again. I won't comment on your clothes anymore." I should have said, no matter how fucking ridiculous.
You mean you'll stop commenting on her thong?
On her thong that I could see. So let's bring in Max now. Max, where would you like to take the conversation?
Yeah, this isn't really where I thought the conversation was going to go. I don't have the same history with these people, so I have no problem with Anna Kasparian's style of dress.
Let's talk to
we don't have a dress code at the Gray Zone. People can show up however they want.
Oh, that's some stupid ad. I was like, what in the world? That happens when you look off the video.
My reaction as I was listening to that live, and by the way, I was with Crystal when it happened, we started cringing more and more the more Jimmy talked. And ultimately, my reaction was exactly like Max Blumenthal's. In that moment, we are all Max Blumenthal. And understand something, guys. My issue is actually not with the original incident that Jimmy's talking about there. Now, to be fair, Jimmy says, "Hey, it was a bad joke." Anna says, "It wasn't a bad joke. It was Jimmy commenting on me in a sexual way in front of my students." Her students were in the room at the time. Now, I wasn't there. I'll never know exactly what happened. I don't think Jimmy's a sex pest. I don't think he's a criminal. I don't think this is a #MeToo thing. But my issue with the thing we just saw is what he just said right there. Oh, she dresses inappropriate. Inappropriate? Who the fuck are you to determine what isn't appropriate for her? Are you a fundamentalist Christian? I mean, that's like some hardcore Republican thing to say. And if I'm being objective about this, even though Jimmy's my friend.
So this is my thing, right? As someone that watches Dore regularly, he usually doesn't speak about the way people are dressed. So, it's like, okay, maybe that's a crass thing to say what he said, but I don't know. I don't really get how I would respond to the scenario of me working with someone for years, and then after I leave that place and start to criticize that person's views along with other people's views over there, they send me this thread about how they're going to reveal me if I continue to pretend I'm a good source of things in the world. So, it's like, yeah, maybe that's not like the remark I'd have done, but I feel like I don't have sympathy for her. You're going to accuse this man after years and years after you stopped working with him, and then you're surprised, or it's okay to levy an allegation towards someone after they criticize you on your views on issues, policy, the stuff that Kyle says he likes. But it's not okay to then make fun of that person's attire after they've tried to, destroy your reputation. All right. You get the idea. I don't feel bad for her.
If somebody spoke about my mom or my sister or my girlfriend like that, it would take every fiber of my being to not want to beat the shit out of them.
Dude, that's like a running gag online. People try to sound so strong on the computer. They're like, man, if I saw you in real life, I'll beat you up. And look, I'm not trying to, I never do the race thing, but I just have this weird feeling that if I said what he just said, I would be called ghetto in like 5 seconds. Sure, you would get angry and violent because someone said something about your mother's sister or girlfriend, but Jimmy was not saying something about Kyle's mother, sister, or girlfriend. He's saying something about a person who is accusing him of being a repeated sexual harasser only after he has started to criticize her company. Like, it's just not the same. But I do like that where they all try to be a tough guy online. If I saw him in person, I would beat him up because he said something about my mother. Yeah, I would take him down. Dude, people online always try to sound so strong. And it's like, like we're grown men. I'm gonna fight somebody because they said something nasty online. People do that every day.
Because that's humiliating. And he admits that it was a humiliating thing in the segment, but then it doesn't occur to you that maybe bringing this up again and talking about it in the way you're talking about it is like gonna humiliate her yet again? That doesn't occur to you? So listen, I just look at that and I think, that's kind of gross. And so my initial reaction was, and I still feel it to this day, is, whoa, okay, I want nothing to do with any of this. So like to that point, sure, at any point I could have jumped in and regulated and been like, all right, come on guys. Jimmy and Aaron are right about X, Y, and Z. The Young Turks, you're wrong about.
I think it's really gross when people accuse you of things with no proof several years after the fact. See, in my video I was going to do talking about the Jimmy and Anna situation, I was going to point out that one of the common tropes of Me Too is that there are these women who don't have power, who are worried that if they speak out against the abuse they have supposedly endured by the people they work with, they'll be punished. But Anna's the most important person at the Young Turks, with the exception of maybe Cenk. She's the co-host, she's an executive producer. And for me to believe this happened, and then for me also to believe that year after year after year went by of Jimmy making all these comments that rubbed her the wrong way and were such a turnoff, but she just felt compelled to keep inviting him back and not saying anything to Cenk, who instantly believed her when she came out about it this year. I don't buy it. Too much stuff doesn't add up. Remember, executive producers get to pick who's on their show. If she was so disgusted by what he did, if this supposedly happened the way she recounts, or he was just continuously making all these remarks, she could have just not had him come back. It's also gross when a network decides to insinuate that people who don't agree with them are getting paid by a foreign government with no proof. Because remember, you can't disagree with somebody online that's on the left without having financial compensation from whatever random organization they want to pick out.
Most of the policy stuff here, let's be serious. But I could have stepped in at any point there before that and been like, here are my thoughts on the whole thing. And everybody would have been like, okay, it's fine. Once this happened, I was like, oh, shit, I don't want to go anywhere near this. I don't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole, dog. And listen, I think you're lying if you don't think that's understandable. Of course that's understandable. What a weird position I'm in as friends with all of them, and then this is unfolding in front of me. So Crystal and I were planning to have Jimmy on Crystal, Kyle, and Friends one day. We were planning to have Cenk on Crystal, Kyle, and Friends one day. And then as we watched this, we decided, you know what? We don't want to have either one of them on right now, because then we would be responsible for getting in the middle of this absolute mess. And we would have to ask really uncomfortable questions that are really personal in nature. And I don't want to have anything to do with some personal shit. Nothing at all. I care about policy. I don't care about personal shit.
I care about policy. That's why when my this journalist I agree with on 100% of the things, according to me, on Syria was smeared by my friends, I decided to not say anything because I care about policy. All right, Brandon says Kyle is the perfect example of an internet tough guy whenever he disagrees with someone. Yeah, but it's like I've never like I've watched other clips of him. I've never seen him just outright say, if I saw this person in real life after they said this, it would take everything I had not to beat them up. That's why that stood out to me so much when I watched this. I was like, what? Are we supposed to be scared?
I want to be involved in this sort of stuff. So, you know, people might disagree with us on that. People might like the fact that it's, you know, you'll get a lot of clicks out of it, and it's like some reality star fighting stuff. I don't want anything to do with it, man. I don't want anything to do with it. So now you might be saying, okay, well then why are you talking about it now? Well, the reason I'm talking about it now is I was dragged into it because I think Jimmy's upset that I'm not crusading in his defense or something, or agreeing with him 100% on every aspect of this, policy-wise and personal-wise.
So that's like putting words in somebody's mouth. I don't remember Dore saying that he wants people to agree with him 100%. If I recall, he actually, when he let Cenk on his show, when he was campaigning for Congress, that was with the full expectation that Cenk agreed with him on Russiagate. So a lot of people like to say he gets upset and is angry whenever people don't agree with him entirely. I don't think that's the case. God, this video is just such a. Well, let's continue. I just want to point that out because a lot of times they try to make it sound like they're just boxed into a corner.
So he did some passive aggressive stuff today on Twitter that caught my eye. The first thing.
Oh my God. See, that's what sucks, that like the idea that I'd be demonetized for playing this video with all these curse words, but then there's like 10 ads on the video with the curse words.
Is he liked this tweet. Somebody tweeted at Crystal and me and said, seriously though, you're ignoring the story, the Syria story completely to avoid drama. Weak. Now, of course, I responded to this with a bunch of question marks because the idea that I ignored the Syria thing is factually wrong. I covered it literally on my last show, and it was the very first video. You want to know why? Because I never, ever, 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 ever shy away from anything policy-wise. The policy shit is my job. It's my job to come out here, give you news, give you facts, give you information, and give you my opinion. And so that's what I do. What is not my job is some weird interpersonal beef regulation, which now, unfortunately, I've been dragged into. But again, I want nothing to do with that. I'm going to reiterate that 1,000 times throughout this segment. So, listen, the tweet that he liked says, you're going to ignore the Syria story, and I quote, completely to avoid drama. No, I'm avoiding the drama to avoid the drama. I'm diving headfirst into the Syria shit because that's my fucking job. And of course I'm going to dive headfirst into it. So I see that. I'm like, what are you doing, Jimmy? What are you doing? You know I'm going to talk about Syria shit, and I did talk about the Syria shit. So why are you liking a tweet that says I didn't talk about the Syria shit? And then we got this response from him. So he says, and he's quoting somebody else who said this, but this is the sentiment he agrees with. I think they are talking about the OPCW cover-up and the slanderous conduct of your friends Cenk and Anna in trying to destroy the reputation of...
Dude, his video literally answers its own question. So where the person asked to comment, why are you ignoring the Syria thing? They're not talking about Biden bombing Syria, which he did, to Kyle's credit, actually address. They're referring to Aaron Matei getting smeared by Cenk and Anna. I love when people have videos like that where it's like, why would you say this? And then the next thing answers what they were talking about. It's literally clarified by the next screenshot. And Twitter really just goes back to being the worst website in the world. Like, I keep saying it's them in Discord that are at the bottom of the barrel. Like, I've never seen on YouTube. I take that back on, maybe because YouTube used to have private messages, but it's only Twitter where me and this person are having beef. Why? Because he liked the tweet that was mean toward me. And then on Discord, this person, I can't stand him. Why? Look at what he wrote about me in these private messages that somebody screenshot. Those two websites are just something else. All they do is just instigate conflicts with people over like ridiculous stuff.
Aaron Mate. But you can keep pretending that doesn't matter, I guess. Okay, so we already talked about the Aaron Mate thing. The other thing they're talking about here is the OPCW report. They're claiming I never said anything about it. Really? This is from my very last live stream. So we're the rebels in Syria we are the rebels in Syria doing the chemical attacks on the people. So we're, it says WE'. I think this person is saying, was it the rebels that did the chemical attacks on the people in Syria? You guys had to, follow this stuff. The OPCW whistleblower. I don't know if you guys remember this, but this just came out not that long ago. It turns out that all the claims from the Western governments were total bullshit, and they had no evidence for it. So yes, the claims of the chemical attacks against the civilians in Syria done by the Assad government, that turns out to be total bullshit. And it's not me saying it; it's whistleblowers who were at the UN who were like, "That's not true at all." This was a big story, but it was kind of hidden. It was only like Aaron Mate and a handful of other people who really blew the whistle on it. So, and listen, I'm going to toot my own horn here a little bit, but yeah, I called that one from the beginning. It was very similar to the Saddam has weapons of mass destruction, and it was not true. And in the case of Assad, I don't know if you guys remember this. Remember when Assad gave up all of his chemical weapons? Remember that? There was a moment where it was like John Kerry and some Russian counterpart doing a press conference, and they basically said, is there anything that Syria could do to make you not like attack or invade? And basically Kerry said something like, yeah, give up all your chemical weapons, but that's not going to happen. And then the very next day or within the next week, Assad was like, here, take all my chemical weapons. And they did. They came and they took all the chemical weapons. And so it's funny that like everybody forgets that part. But then they go on to say, well, obviously he was attacking civilians with gas. So in other words, at a time when he already basically won the war, he was going to attack his own civilians with gas, which would bring the West right back into it. It's nonsense. And it turns out we learned it was total nonsense. Now, that's not even the only time I brought it up. I brought it up 3 or 4 times. I've done literally over 100 segments on Syria. Now, granted, most of those, almost all of them are about the Civil War. But, since we got the OPCW whistleblower and Aaron did that great work, almost every segment on Syria, I've brought up that fact. So, I don't know what you want me to tell you. I'm doing policy shit exactly right, yet I'm still somehow getting these weird passive-aggressive criticisms.
Yeah, because the same policy that was championed by that person was used as a way to smear that person, referring to Aaron Mate. And your friends just, did this, and you decided to not say anything. It's like he said, his video answers its own question. Good for him. He did 100 videos about Syria, but he still didn't address the fact that the person who gave us information on that topic, Aaron Mate, was smeared by the Young Turks, the same people that he calls his friends.
So here's the bottom line, guys. Everybody needs to stop dragging me into some bullshit. This has absolutely nothing to do with me. If they want to keep duking it out, they can keep duking it out. I don't buy this notion that, well, everything they're doing is talking about policy. Nonsense, because if that was the case, well, guess what? I've done 103 segments on Syria, 82 on Russia, 16 on Russia Gate. I debated Cenk on Russia Gate. I did 217 segments on Medicare for All, and maybe about a dozen referencing directly or indirectly Force the Vote, and I was a supporter of Force the Vote. So everybody knows where I stand on all the policy stuff. Yet I'm being dragged into this. And I don't want to be dragged into this because it has gotten ugly and it has gotten personal. And the final point I want to make is this. Here's where everybody's wrong, okay?
Except
TYT accuses Jimmy of being a grifter and a right-winger. They're wrong on both of those things.
Dude, I'm so sick and tired of that stupid word. That's why in the video I had the 3 different people that it was Pac-Man and then those other 2 that like said the word just every time they don't like somebody that gets paid online. You're a grifter, you're a grifter, you're a grifter, you're a grifter. And the thing is, it has a lot of parallels to some other words I don't like. And it's effectively a way to critique someone, or like it's pretty much just name calling, but it's also a way to like both not actually address what the person is saying, and also like again pretend the other person's view cannot be an organic one. So you can't just disagree with this person. No, they're only saying this because they get paid by people online.
It doesn't matter what you think of Jimmy, personally or otherwise. He's not a grifter. He believes every word he's saying. Guaranteed. I know Jimmy. That's a fact. He believes every single word he's saying. The idea he's a right-winger is also ludicrous. He's attacking Democrats from the left. He's attacking the left flank of the Democrats from the left. Now, you might not like that. You might think some of his attacks are unfair. You might think some of his attacks are misleading or whatever. We're not going to get into that now. I got a 1,000 criticisms and 1,000 points of agreement. But he ain't a right-winger, and he ain't a grifter, okay? At the same time, Jimmy accuses TYT of being basically corrupt and being liars. I disagree.
If you want to say they're not corrupt, you can say that, but they are liars. Like, I'm not going to take what was that stupid thing they said? They don't want the culture of men that support Dore's content because of what he did to Anna, supposedly. It's like, I'm not going to take people seriously who are sitting up here trying to pretend as if they're women's rights advocates, but then they hosted a segment, and Dore's video showed this, where they had like naked pictures of chicks and we're talking about camel toe and whose body is this. You know, it's like people love reinventing themselves. They really do believe that once they just, after a couple of years pass, something that they said before can't be resurfaced or dug up. Yeah, TYT did segments, and if you don't believe me, I can find the video where this stuff is played, where they would show a woman's foot and go, "Who's this?" Or show like her crotch area and say, "Who's this?" Or they would show someone's naked picture and then put it on their website. And it was all, they were only ever doing this to chicks, so it was a sexist segment. That's BS when there are more women who voted for. No, I'm saying it's just insane to me that the same group of people who get to have a segment like that are now going to preach morality and about the need to respect women. So look at the segment you ran. Yeah, that argument means nothing. Again, Envoy, if you don't believe me, you can go over to Dore's channel. He has an hour, and I think it's an hour, 15-minute video. And if you ask me on my next stream where the thing is, I'll go on that channel myself and find the timestamp for you to watch where he shows the multiple times they ran that segment. But now everybody wants to, play women's right advocate.
You know who else used to disagree? This guy.
No, actually, I was wondering about Cenk because, I saw Cenk at the e-board meeting and I asked him some tough questions about how he's taking money from Jeffrey Katzenberg. He got a $20 million investment to hire some journalists. And so far, I haven't seen a lot of them, doing the original investigative reporting that they're supposed to be doing. I see a lot of punditry. And unfortunately, on the main show, it tends to be kind of mainstream. Does he think that this money that he's taken from the establishment Democratic Party would influence him? And of course, he says it hasn't. But now we see, this reporting about Russia. So I know that you may not you have to choose your words very carefully, but
I don't think that's. I don't think Cenk is preaching a false narrative for investment money.
No, it's not even about that. It's just I'm specifically irritated with Cenk because he called Dore a serial harasser and a pervert, and I'm like, you're the same person who literally got kicked off of your organization for sexist posts from 20 years ago. And he didn't call him any of these terms when he asked Dore to help him with his campaign by having him on last year. Just of all the men to be talking about respecting chicks, he's the last one.
Money. I think he truly believes it. I take it, Cenk is what I call a natural Republican, right? So he was a Republican at first for a long time, and he talks about this openly about how he even led pro-Iraq war rallies, right? The first one. And so that's why people are drawn to him, because it's this great journey where he went from this meathead into this progressive, right? And so that's what appealed to me about his journey and about Cenk. So I think it's, if he is what we consider to be wrong on an issue, it's just because he's genuinely believes it. That money, that investment money. That's not how Cenk works. And if he's making a mistake, it's just he's making a mistake. Or I disagree with him. I disagree with him before they took that money. Well, the first gas attack in 2013, and Barack Obama wanted to bomb Syria over that, and they believed it.
And it was proven false.
It was since proven false.
Jimmy's 100% right there. And that wasn't that long ago. Let me break this down further. Listen. TYT took investment money from a guy by the name of Buddy Roemer. Buddy Roemer is a former Republican politician. Now, when they took that money, did they then turn around and on the show they started supporting Republican politicians and pushing Republican policies? No, they didn't, right? Because the whole point of the deal was, hey, we're only going to make a deal if you have zero editorial control over the show. Cenk would only make deals with people who would have no editorial control over the show. So that's exactly what happened with Buddy Roemer. He took money from a former Republican politician, and they didn't end up backing Republicans nonstop. Now, it goes deeper than that, too, though, because he took money from Katzenberg. Did that make him change his opinions? No. I got news for you guys. If you've watched TYT for a long time, you'll know this. He's always had a lot of cringe opinions. So, for example, before he took money from Roemer or Katzenberg, Cenk always referred to himself as, and I quote, a mild interventionist. What? He has always been relatively hostile to protectionism. He says he believes more in free trade than other lefties like me and Jimmy. I don't know what Aaron's position is on free trade and protectionism, but I know Jimmy is more in alignment with me on that. Cenk was always like, I'm more of a free trader. Cenk has always been sort of openly hostile to unions. There's clips back from TYT in like 2008 where he mentioned unions and he's like, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of unions. So listen, I disagree with Cenk on all of that, but I disagree.
Man, somebody dug up a clip of Cenk talking about bombing Syria, sending a strong message to other countries. If the U.S. did that, I have to go find it though.
I with him on it before he took investment money and after he took investment money. And this is a guy who walked away from $1 million MSNBC contract because he felt like they were going to muzzle him. So then would he turn around and take investment money for his company for them to muzzle him or force him to change his opinions? No, he wouldn't do it. Now, again, I want to be clear about something. This isn't me saying you can never disagree with TYT. Of course, I have 1,000 disagreements with them. Again, I literally debated Cenk on Russiagate, okay? And there's a million other things I could go on and on about where I think they're wrong. But it's definitely not that they're changing opinions because they got the money. They would only take money from people who left them full editorial control and wouldn't impact the direction of the show. If you dislike the direction of the show, you could dislike it on its own merits. You could dislike it because you disagree with Cenk and Ada. It doesn't.
I don't do that anymore. Every time you disagree with somebody and you're in the left wing of YouTube, it's always because you're getting paid by this person or you're taking coins from these people or you're trying to get more people on Patreon. Everything has to do with money. You can never just disagree with someone. When I used to watch TYT, Cenk always came across as a little bit of a loony to me. I don't even know what that means. You know what I mean? People I had talking about, there is something wrong with you. You need to go to therapy. I don't really put much stock into someone's mental state. So I'm here to psychoanalyze anyone. Let me just finish this video up.
It doesn't have to be because of the money thing and they're, nefarious, twisting their evil mustache behind closed doors like, I will now change direction of the show because I got the money. Listen, the only criticism I have on that front is they made a lot of bad business decisions. I think it's gross if you take investment money and then you also turn around and do grassroots fundraising. Don't do that. Because then the people who are giving you the grassroots money, they feel like they're the ones who are funding the whole shit and then you're also raising investment money, I just think that's gross. I think that's a bad business decision. I think the optics of taking investment money, whether it's from Romer or Katzenberg, I think the optics are terrible. You know, on that alone, I would have said don't do it. Never mind the fact that they did it and they did grassroots fundraising. But what I'll tell you is this. Jimmy believes every word he says, and TYT believes every word they say. And so, listen, in summation, this is all I have to say about this. I'm always going to tell you guys exactly what I think on policy stuff, because that's my job. That's my job. But when it gets personal, especially with people who I know and am friends with, I want absolutely nothing to do with it. I want to be a million miles away from it. So I don't want to hear about some #MeToo shit. I don't want to hear about some bickering. I don't want to hear about how you think somebody's a grifter and a right-winger, and you think somebody's corrupt and they're a liar. Basically, as long as they're calling each other grifters and right-wingers and corrupt and liars, and as long as we're having the conversation about dressing inappropriately and shit, I'm out. Not only do I not want anything to do with this, I don't want anything to do with them either. Them. I'm done with all of them. Because I'm an adult. And I got no time for this high school type shit, okay? And you might think it's not high school shit, but you're wrong. You're fucking wrong.
I remember in high school when people accused you of talking about how sexy somebody's legs were. Yeah, I don't remember either.
Because if we are just talking about policy again, I got dragged into this shit. Because supposedly, oh no, it is all about policy. Is it really? Well then, you didn't think?
It was until TYT botched it. Like, okay, when they were saying that Aaron was getting paid to peddle whatever theory they think is incorrect about Syria, that was still about policy. And then when Jimmy criticized TYT over and over again over the span of the last half year, that was about policy. It was only when they were criticized over and over and Anna decided to send that weird warning DM that it turned into more personal stuff where, you know, now she's accusing Jimmy of supposedly year after year providing sexual inquiries. So they turned it into something else.
That, what are the numbers again? My 103 segments on Syria, my 82 segments on Russia, my 16 on Russiagate, my 217 on Medicare for All, and maybe a dozen on Force the Vote. That wasn't sufficient for you to understand where I am policy-wise in this conversation?
It's like he really thinks that if he talked about this enough times, that's it. We don't have to hear him on any of this stuff ever again. You should just know what my position is, so I don't have to make any more videos. And maybe a lot of people thought that since he was friends with, or I guess is friends, if you use the present tense, with the host of TYT, that he should be able to say something to them about how ridiculous they were for making that smear.
So listen, on the policy stuff, yes, I happen to agree much, much more with Jimmy and Aaron, without a doubt. On the personal stuff, at this point, I want nothing to do with any of you guys. And if you don't like that, you can fuck off. And I'm not just talking to them now. I'm talking to people in the audience who might not agree with how I'm approaching this or what I'm doing. I don't fucking care. I don't care. I'm an introverted guy.
I don't care so much that I made a half-hour video about it. That's how little I care.
I don't like drama. I'm being dragged into some bullshit. So what I'm doing, dipping my toe in the bullshit because I got dragged into it, and I'm getting the fuck out, and I'm going to be nowhere near it. Okay? And I hope I don't get dragged into it again where I have to respond again to some shit. Because I don't want to do it. I don't like to do it. But if I got to do some shit, I got to do it. And that's why I'm doing this segment right now.
Dragged into it. He acts like somebody forced him to turn his camera on. Imagine just sitting at home and like people are talking trash about you on Twitter and like YouTube. And then while you're like looking at all this stuff, all of a sudden you get pulled to your chair and your camera adjusts itself and it turns it on, and then some teleprompter shows up in your house. It's like you made the video because you wanted to. Hopefully this is the last
thing I have to say about this. I want nothing to do with it. I want to be 1,000 miles away from it. And you should respect that. But if you don't respect that, I don't give a fuck.
I like how that's how it ends. I don't care. That's why I made a half-hour video. Oh man, my chat died. We're gonna have to do a funeral. Yeah, this whole situation is just—it's such a really ridiculous thing. Like, and I did end up giving that video a thumbs up because I don't dislike Kyle. I dislike some of the things that were said in it. It's just funny to watch him talk about how he only cares about policy, but then when this was a matter of policy, crickets, no words. I completely understand where he wouldn't want to get involved with the situation with Dore and Kasparian, but the rest of that stuff, no. Oh, Banana Merchant made his 11th hour arrival. He finally appeared. Imagine like working with someone for, what is it, 7, 8 years, and then you leave the company, and then 2 years later you start to like talk about the company and like the views of the co-host, and then you get a DM from that person who hasn't DM'd you in 4 years saying, I'm gonna let the world know about how you did this and that, and then you talk about it on your stream to get, I guess, like an advantage or to just put it out there. And then like people are upset with your response to being accused of something. And it's like, that's kind of what really bugs me about that. Even if I don't think his rhetoric regarding what she was wearing was what I would do, or I thought it was crass. It's like, how do you expect him to act after someone is accusing him of being a predator? You were such a predator that I decided to keep working with you year after year, and I never said anything to my co-host, and I kept booking you for more shows. And I only started to talk about this allegation I'm levying after you talked about my company. God, it's just... And people really were believing that stuff. They're like, yeah, he's so gross. I was watching... what is it, the Majority Report? Because the guy that runs that hates Dore. They have a complete just animosity. Like basically, Dore treats Cedar like the WWE treats Chris Benoit, and he was like, "Dore won't have me on his show because I humiliated him." And then what's her name, Vigeland, that broad that was crying when Sanders lost the race. She was like, "I heard from other people at TYT that Dore was such a harasser." No proof. Only thing you can find on TYT prior to him talking about all their little screwed up stuff they do when they're reporting are all these clips of people sitting on panels with them smiling and all happy. It's like I thought he was the villain. Why are all these people hanging out with him? Why didn't Anna report to the police? But like, Brandon, imagine this. Someone for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years supposedly made sexual passes toward you that you found inappropriate. Why didn't you tell your boss? And then it's like, if someone actually sexually harassed me, I'm not going to send them a DM on Twitter warning them that if they continue to run their mouth, I'm going to sue them. That's how you know it's just a stupid smear. I wouldn't say Dore is a predator, but he was being inappropriate when he made that comment. I mean, I guess, but like I said, man, if this was such a big deal, it would have been spoken about before he criticized the company over its reporting. They didn't like that he was criticizing his former boss, so they decided to have her concoct this allegation, because that's the easiest way to get rid of a man that is critical of something or someone. No, this is not a regular Me Too thing. It's like you're literally the most important person at the Young Turks besides one guy, and you didn't have enough power to come forward and say something. It doesn't matter whether the verbal or physical. If she was uncomfortable, she should have said something. Yeah. And look, her allegation is even worse because, okay, let's say everything she says is true, right? At some point, he made the first, thing that like rubbed her the wrong way, again, verbally, and then continued to do this year after year, right? Remember, she's the second most important person at that company. The boss instantly believed her when she told him, but it was so gross and like so disturbing to her as a woman that she wouldn't say anything for years until after he leaves the company and is critical of them and they're reporting. This is now being revealed to the public. Guys, any way you spin it, it doesn't make any sense. TYT has really imploded as of late. Yeah. I haven't seen Music Fiend in so long. I see that Envoy decided to pack up his bags and go somewhere after he was exposed. We found out he was taking money from let's see, Vladimir Putin, Benjamin Netanyahu, Bashar Assad, Kim Jong-un. What's the Iran leader? Khomeini. Dude, they love doing it. Every time somebody says something they don't like, they can't just be someone who disagrees with them. This person's getting paid by Russia or Syria or Iran or Israel or, just damn, so annoying. Can never address why what the person is saying is incorrect. Dude, if I actually did a video on Majority Report that was like an hour, which I couldn't even do because my editor doesn't let me put in files that are that big anymore. But if I did like an hour-long video on Majority Report, I would just talk about how, like, when they've criticized Dore, especially in the last 6 months, every critique is always like couched in being upset at the fact that people pay him to talk about the news or to talk about current events. Because again, they all have this mentality that if someone gets paid for their perspective is one that only is being said because they're getting paid. And it's really weird too, because you have to remember all these people get paid online. Yeah, I definitely think Anna blew us out of proportion. There was only one allegation that was actually proven true because Dore talked how he could see Anna's behind through the. Yeah, but like my thing is this. That's still different from what he was saying, and she only tried to, like, her way of confirming that was to then try and say, oh, I told him this and blah, 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 blah. So, and then even then it's like, I think there's a big difference between saying something inappropriate and then doing something inappropriate. Also, again, if it was such a big deal, we would have heard about this when it happened. Remember, remember Jordan Sheridan, right? They got rid of him when he had his own allegation being levied. You remember him? I'm the only one that recalls who that is, that investigative journalist, the one that runs Status Quo. Oh, these allegations are the worst. No, watching TYT has been hilarious. Yeah, of course it's a throwback. It didn't just happen a few days ago. It was about 4 years ago. But again, my point I'm making is they've shown that if someone is, what's the word for it, doing something that is wrong, they will get rid of you. So I don't believe that, they couldn't have done the same thing. Jordan Sheridan got fired for literally being a player. Hey, I had no problem with what he did. I'm not here to. I'm not saying that to criticize them. I'm simply saying that they've shown they can get rid of people who have an on-air presence like that they know will be missed, or like noticed as not being there anymore. So if Dore was actually doing something, they could have just gotten rid of him, but they didn't because, again, I don't believe this. That story is like just fan fiction personified with multiple women, and they put it as the emotions. Yeah, I remember. And there was even one of the chicks came on the stream talking about how she woke up and saw him doing whatever. I'm like, oh my God. Someone mail me a box of tissues. No, I go a long way back with TYT. I remember all their ridiculousness. Because those segments, like when I was I guess first getting into a lot of the news stuff, those camel toe segments, I remember that's from like when I was like 11, 12, when they were posting those up on there. And it was, I guess I never really noticed that they'd stopped making those, but it's really weird when they have like a podcast type show that's like really crass with the content it has. And then now they're trying to play the morality police. We will not tolerate this culture. What? Yeah, me too. Yeah, we didn't even get the receipts from Anna or any of the Young Turks about the incident. Dore posted the messages on Twitter. Yeah. That's like a running gag that like all this like abuse of chicks was going on when Dore was there, but no one has any proof. No, remember, if that note was, and look, let's say we give him the benefit of the doubt, she threw the note away. It's like, nothing. We're going to ruin this man's reputation with the word of mouth of someone who very much has an axe to grind with him. She's been criticized by him for the last 6 months. They always do this. Everybody acts like they have, I don't know, Gorilla Glue on their mouths when someone works with them, but then after the person's left or it's been 10 years, now they finally reveal it. Oh, that video was so goofy. He was like, I don't care about this drama. That's why I'm making a half-hour video about it. The left needs to cut the censorship mentality out before I become far right-wing. Well, I mean, these people online don't own the left. Like, there are a lot of people still who might like Sanders that have never heard of Cenk or Anna or, or even Jimmy, these people. That's why a lot of people seem to not understand that being famous online, unless you're like PewDiePie, which even that is like rare, you have a high chance of not being known by people. Like if people don't watch cable news, they sure as hell aren't watching some guy on the internet that thinks they're a professional because their video gets uploaded with green screen. Oh my God. You're gonna go far right wing because people online are ridiculous. That's very silly. Oh no, it's sad. This is definitely coming off more like a political hit rather than legitimate allegation that can be proven with legitimate allegation. This is why I'm very seldom in my engagement with the left. That wolf pack never went down. Man, I don't even know what happened to them. They stopped talking about them a long time. Like right around the time they got the Justice Democrats founded is when that Wolfpack kind of got demoted to extra. No, they never show any evidence. Just believe me because I said it. And it sucks too because it's like I don't mind people criticizing political views, right? Like if TYT responded to Jimmy and they said you're incorrect because we did this, and they show proof that they did it, or they show something that asserts their claim that they did whatever, I just look at that as, productive political dialogue. But they're the ones who went from, oh, here's a person who's criticizing us on the basis of our beliefs. Let's now assert that he was so sexually invasive of this young lady. Come on. Thoughts on? Yeah, I don't pay attention to Cedar. The only time I look at him is when he does a video on Jimmy. Even though they're all the same. He's afraid of me. He's mentally ill. 41 video. I went and counted on Saturday? 41 videos about Dore by Cedar. That's the second highest number of videos I've seen one man make on another. There were these two guys in a certain anime community where one guy made 60 videos on the other one before he got taken down. Lord Music thing. Wait, what? I didn't know he was promoted to Sith Master. Wow. Yeah, I told you I ignore all those right-wing commentators unless they appear on, some left-wing person's channel that I watch. So, Mark Levin, Shapiro, Crowder, Owens, all of them, just Hannity, O'Reilly. That's crazy how these content creators will vilify and demonize people, but then don't take any proper actions to deal with. Yeah, like if someone was giving, and this would never happen because chicks don't do this to men usually because they already, they're not as starved of attention. But if I was getting harassed by a woman at work year after year, I would sue her. And I'd have proof. If something happens over and over again, as Anna alleges, you start to notice patterns and it becomes easier to catalog it or otherwise get people. Like you can have, they always say, you expect us to record everything. Like, no, you can have other people who attest to seeing it. Like literally nobody else says they saw it that worked at TYT. You didn't see, what's his name, Idarola go on there. You didn't see Mankiewicz go on there. It's just her saying that this happened. You better believe if some woman harassed me sexually for years, I would have proof. I always have evidence to support my claim. No, that video was like if I had to give it a rating, I'd give it maybe like a 5 or a 6 out of 10. And that's if I'm being generous. I just hate it when people do videos on something. They're like, I don't care about this topic. I'm like, then what was the point of making the video? A lot of weird stuff people do on here. Your news program online gets criticized by another big content creator, and then you retaliate by accusing them of being a predator with no proof. They really have made a liberal civil war. It's not even, no, it's not just Anna. Like Anna versus Jimmy is a subcategory. It's like Jimmy versus the whole Young Turk network. Like it's him versus her, Jank, the Majority Report, where that's like another 3 people on that. There's another, I don't want to mention that other guy because I'm so sick of him and his stuff. Gotta have those receipts, man. Yeah, I showed mine. That chick that was trying to control me, I showed you where she wrote her nonsense. You can't watch this person if you want to speak. Are you crazy? TYT is also against MSC, SCN, Jamal Thomas. Yeah. I mean, but my thing is, they're not actively like it's basically Dore and Matei versus all these other people because I don't see TYT making videos mentioning Thomas. Like, man, he probably gets paid by the Russians. So, like, if I did videos that were pro Jimmy, which is, I guess, what this is, it's not me versus TYT because they've never responded to me. Oh, I remember that guy. He's the one that made the stupid video on Roe where he was like, I can't believe you said something positive about Biden. And then the thumbnail was like Roe photoshopped to where some woman in like, because Biden's known for those like weird pictures with chicks. No, that guy is, I always remember when he did the stream with Status Quo, who has like who at the time had like 80,000 subscribers and they couldn't even get 2,000 views. You better believe if I did a stream with somebody that had like tens and tens of thousands of subs, that there is no way in hell that thing would only have 1,000 views. Oh my God. That must be one dead channel. I know that most subs lay dormant, but Jesus Christ. His TYT collaborators have responded into, oh, they always do that. Dude, like, that's why I said I like to just talk about the news, because if you really get involved with progressive YouTube, all it is litmus test where people are saying this person is not as left as me because he supports bombing this country and he supports, or he's taking money from this person. So it's either a litmus test, you're a grifter. Yeah, pretty much just those two were like, oh, you said this one thing I don't like, so I'm unsubscribing from you. Or you're getting paid by the Russians, or you're getting paid by Patreon. Like, you're only saying this because you want people to donate super chats. Jesus Christ. And again, they all get paid online, and they're really sitting there like, this person's only saying this because he's getting money for this of you. It's like, so are you. Man, progressive YouTube is like, they're not the worst online community because there are other ones that do nastier stuff to each other, but they're definitely getting there. And it's weird too, because I don't remember this infighting like before the last presidential election. Because I used to watch Pacman, TYT, Secular Talk, and then Dore had started doing videos during the election before this one, and none of those people ever talked about each other. Like, it was a pretty peaceful time to just go into this person. You watch them here, you watch them there, you watch them here, you watch them there. The internet is a good look at politics of the next 10 to 20 years because the youth is crawling all over the internet. Hey, imagine if I ran for my house seat this year, and then by like some miracle I won, and then like every time you go on YouTube, Justin said this, but we have a recording of him from 2009 saying that. He's getting paid by the people on Patreon. It's like, oh my God. That's why I said the best thing to do on all these websites is just like to not look in your comment section and to not look your name up on Twitter. People will argue on there over anything. He made a whole video because Jimmy hearted a tweet about him. It's like, what? Like, imagine you click a button and then this person just like, all right, let me do this video. Respond to him clicking that button. There's going to be so much more political fragmentation. Yeah, like, and it's crazy too because they all apparently want the same things. I know a lot of writing content creators who will say, I don't care about this piece of media, and then proceed to do a 1 hour uninformed. Oh, they love that. I don't care about this. Let me talk about it until the cows come home. Jesus Christ. No, left-wing YouTube is just a place where all anybody does is call someone corrupt, or say that their views are because they're getting paid, or say that someone isn't as good or progressive as them, or make allegations against someone. Oh, this person said this person did that. Because he's not the first one that they've done this to. Like, you can't cover a piece of media if you've never seen it. Can't wait to do my stream on Harry Potter. Never read a single book or saw a single movie, but let me talk about it. Now, the woman that wrote it's been getting in trouble because she was running her mouth on Twitter, saying some stuff that people didn't like. So I said Twitter is just a very bad website. Like every time people do videos, it's always this person said this on Twitter. They take drama from one website and bring it to another. And what's crazy is that a lot of people are more antagonistic on Twitter than they are on YouTube. Like they're actively responding to people picking fights. Like, oh, okay, you already read that. I remember a long time ago when I used to put up thumbnails and try to promote my stuff elsewhere. I was like, oh yeah, if I just keep on doing stuff, I can get more views. Like, yeah, well, look what happens when you get more views. You got people clipping your video saying you said this when you didn't even say that, and then they're like trying to assert that you only believe in this because of this hidden ulterior motive that they've discovered. And I don't know, it's all, and they try to like actively start drama with you, like. Told you, getting more subscribers and more views just means a bigger target on your back. Like I literally had a dream where I had 100,000 subs. I turned my flash on by accident, and all people did was like go in the comment section and write nasty stuff, except 10 times more, or like trash talk me and some other. It's like, oh my god. I've had no foreknowledge of this topic, but allow me to give you my uninformed opinion. Yeah, that's very useful to me. You would rip your hair out with that amount of fame. I don't know which one's worse, the ripping your hair out over the stuff these chicks do or ripping your hair out over all the fame. No, it just seems like everything they do gets critiqued, or there's like over analysis into it. Like, why is this person not saying anything? Has he folded to the other side? They have more speculation about this than wrestling. He's going to make a video on him tomorrow, maybe. He's going to expose him in a 2-hour stream tomorrow, possibly. It's like, might as well start placing actual bets on this. No, Cenk really surprised me this year. I really do want to make that other video, just edited video, about why this whole thing is screwed up, because there's a lot of stuff that people don't discuss. And again, when you go around, like sometimes people will cover it, but they won't talk about the other people covering it. It's like they're all saying the same stuff. Oh my God, look at how nasty what Jimmy said was about this lady that accused him of touching her years and years after the fact. I can't believe he would respond to her in this manner. Remember what I said before, that people want individuals to like say whatever to you, but then they also want to control what your response is. I just don't see a scenario where a woman accuses me of making sexual comments to her at work, and then if I respond to it in the stream, I'm being nice. Like, I'd have no reason to be. That it's insane for you to expect that to be what I would say, or for me to be pleasant in that scenario. Hello, person trying to destroy my reputation. Let me greet you in a calm and decent manner and address you as Miss and Ma'am and all the rest of it. That really is a running theme on this website, where people just can say whatever about you and then you respond back a certain way. Oh my God. Oh. And Music Fiend finally returned and wrote some comments. I haven't seen him in so long. I feel like celebrating. He came back for that drama. He was like, yeah, I want to see who's talking about who. Oh, stupid telemarketer. You're called by so many numbers, it's just a complete waste of time. You answer it, and you hear that same little pre-recorded beep that they like to do. Yeah, I don't know what's really going to happen out of this. I mean, I don't expect TYT to respond to Dore again. Because when you drop one allegation, it's usually hard to like follow that up if you have no proof. That's why they only usually do it one time, because that's what like a one and done. And if they do, I don't see them actually responding to his claims. So, like actually addressing the criticisms that he had of them on policy. So I think this is probably the lowest point. And people like Cedar and Vosh and all the rest, they're just going to keep making videos about him, just talking to themselves. I had no ideas before. I knew he made a bunch of them because he makes one like I think every 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But I had no idea it was over 40. That's crazy. It just feels weird to imagine someone having 40 videos about another, like, and again, it's not even like when I did a video on Secular Talk or Pac-Man, it was like praising what they had said, like, oh, I didn't think of this before. Let me give this person credit for, saying something I hadn't thought of. But like, you hate this or don't like this person or whatever, and then you just keep watching them as they say nothing to you. Couldn't be me. So does anyone have anything else left to say? Otherwise, we can wrap this up because I have to go somewhere in about 20 minutes. Have these people at this place waste my time for 2 hours. It's going to be really exciting. Any final comments, thoughts, theories, statements, demands, requests? Because I didn't intend on stream today, but I didn't expect to see that video either. Hey, I can't wait for the video to get for the stream to be over. And then when you go in the comment section, it's like people not even responding to what you said, because that's like another thing they love doing on there. Oh, let me read the comment this guy wrote. I screenshot it because I thought it was really good and it didn't have any likes on it other than mine. Okay, this guy's name is Jackson Todd. He said on this so the same video I played, he said people were murdered in Syria. The U.S. government lied about how they died and then used it to justify bombing the country. TYT is going right along with that lie, just as they lied about Russiagate and forced to vote. Sorry that it's uncomfortable for you, but we're kind of sitting here critiquing the squad for not fighting against the DNC. Pretty sure you can be grown up enough to call out TYT without needing to be goaded into it. Maybe don't be friends with people who lie about war crimes, smear independent journalists like Matei and Assange, and cynically use Me Too to deflect valid criticism. Stop saying drama, it's in quotation marks, as if both sides are unhinged. Dore and Matei have been defending themselves from TYT. TYT led progressive independent media on YouTube, and now they're saying indie journalists are working for dictators and shamelessly lying about war crimes using goofy security state talking points. It's kind of important to point that out. It's unacceptable, and I'd like to avoid other indie outlets moving in the same direction. Also, to continue acting like you addressed the Syria story as if that was what Jimmy's liked tweet was talking about, especially when the tweet is quoting the word drama from your interview with Hassan, is gross. No one is talking about you talking about the Syrian civil war generally. We know you aren't that dumb. He got him. See, like, that's what sucks about the internet. Like, that comment addresses what he says, still does it in like a mostly respectful manner where they don't call him out of his name. And then it's like, I see one like on that, but then 900 on somebody quoting him and then saying, this is always this way. Just, man, when people come with that substance, others fall asleep. That's why I know every time I do a news video, I'm like, I can't wait to get less than 30 views today. This is so exciting. I remember this one, he was like, maybe the topics aren't that interesting. I was like, if that's true, then how the hell does TYT have 5 million subscribers? They're talking about the same thing. Maybe if you use thumbnails, you put a thumbnail on there. Same views. Dude, people will look for any reason to. It's like it all boils down to this. There's a bunch of people talking about the news. There are some that are more well known because they've been doing it longer. And, you know, unfortunately, I'm just part of a group of people that's going to stay the same size year after year unless I do something big, you know, like a documentary or whatever. And even those people don't watch that much. And then that same group of people that all these other people are saying they have problems with just going to keep getting bigger and bigger. So you're the hamster on the wheel while they get larger and larger. And look, it sucks, but you know, I've made peace with it. It is what it is. That's why I can come on here and say, you know, this person did this right or this dumb, because I'm not friends with any of these people. I'm too small to get acknowledged as actually mattering. So I don't feel some kind of social pressure to appeal to them or their supporters, who I know aren't even going to watch me anyway. So thanks for showing up, Music Fiend, Banana, I guess Envoy if he's still alive, Brandon, and have a good day.